At this point, I made a few wish list videos for a few different parks across the country, including Animal Kingdom, Dollywood, and Disney's California Adventure. But today I thought I'd do something a little different and make a wish list for a manufacturer, that being Mack Rides. Mack is one of the most exciting manufacturers in the industry, in my opinion. That might be because they don't have that many major coasters in this country yet, but the ones that I've ridden have been absolutely spectacular, so I'm like dying for more of Mack Rides, especially in Southern California, because I loved Time Traveler at Silver Dollar City and I loved Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, so I am really looking forward to experiencing more rides by this company. So today we're gonna look at what I hope for this company to add to parks all across the country. So we're going to break this down into 3 separate categories. The first of which being one of the most exciting ride models by Mack Rides, which is the Xtreme Spinner. So I have 5 parks that I would like to see get an Xtreme Spinner. These are ranked from 5 to 1, 1 being the park that I would add the Xtreme Spinner to if I got to select one. But starting off at number 5 is Busch Gardens Williamsburg. I only got 1 day at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, but man, I love that park, dude. It is just absolutely spectacular. It is beautiful, and the roller coaster collection is amazing. Pantheon is an amazing standout attraction, and the fact that this park has so many multi-launch coasters is kind of funny to me, so I feel like they should just lean into it by building a Mack Rides Xtreme Spinner and just becoming the launch coaster capital of the world, because a Mack Xtreme Spinner would be totally different from Pantheon, it would be totally different from Dark Coaster, it's totally different from Tempesto and Verbolten, so I feel like this would be a great candidate just to solidify BGW as the launch coaster capital of the world. And I feel like it could do super well here. I just love the Mack Xtreme Spinner model, so I would love to see many different iterations, many different variations in terms of layout that Mack could come up with. And I feel like Busch Gardens Williamsburg's setting would just make that ride absolutely elite. Moving on to number 4 is a Universal Orlando park. So there were rumors for a while that there would be an Xtreme Spinner at Epic Universe in the Monsters section of that park, but we later found out that it would be more of a family spinning coaster. But I couldn't stop thinking about a Mack Rides Xtreme Spinner at a Universal park for a while. That would just be so well done. It would be so well themed. I feel like Epic Universe is off the table because of Starfall Racers and because of the family Mack spinner that it's getting in the Dark Universe section. So I feel like Universal is using one big roller coaster to spearhead a park. At Universal Studios Florida, I feel like it's Rip Ride Rocket. At Islands of Adventure, it's Velocicoaster. At Epic Universe, it's going to be Starfall Racers. I feel like Universal Orlando will build a 4th gate eventually, whether that's 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. And I feel like a Mack Xtreme Spinner would be a great, thrilling roller coaster to spearhead a 4th park. It would be totally different from Starfall Racers, and it would just be so well done. Even if the 4th park doesn't happen, I feel like having a Mack Xtreme Spinner at Islands of Adventure would just be incredible. Absolutely incredible. Like, it would definitely be one of the best coasters in the world. And with Hagrid's and Velocicoaster, that park would just solidify itself as like an elite park in the country for both theming and for roller coasters, which is absolutely wild. That being said though, if this ride went to Universal Studios Florida, I feel like that park would benefit the most from a roller coaster like a Mack Xtreme Spinner. I was not impressed with Universal Florida at all. And I'm sure Epic Universe is going to be a smash hit, and Islands of Adventure is one of my favorite parks I've ever been to. So Universal Florida could definitely use the help, even if it's more exciting to think of it going to a 4th gate or to Islands, or even Epic Universe. Alright, moving on to my 3rd park for a Mack Xtreme Spinner. This one is definitely Southern California bias, but it is SeaWorld San Diego. I feel like out of all of the Southern California parks, SeaWorld San Diego is the most likely to build a Mack Xtreme Spinner, so I'm very much hoping that it happens one day, because that would just be amazing. I would absolutely love to have one of these rides close to home, and SeaWorld San Diego would be the best fit. In my opinion, that park doesn't doesn't really have a standout roller coaster, and that would absolutely take that crown, it would be the clear-cut number 1, and it would just be absolutely amazing. Moving on to my number 2 idea for a Mack Xtreme Spinner. This is Dollywood, and that should not come to a surprise to you if you've watched my Dollywood wishlist video. I feel like this park's setting would just be amazing. Plus, its sister park in Silver Dollar City got the original Mack Xtreme Spinner with Time Traveler, so I feel like it's pretty realistic for Dollywood to get a Mack Xtreme Spinner, and I really hope it happens one day. And number 1, this is also another park I've made a wishlist video for. It is Kings Island. If Kings Island got a Mack Xtreme Spinner, I truly believe that this park's lineup would be better than Cedar Point. Kings Island is just absolutely stacked, and if you want to see how I would perfect that park's lineup, you should definitely go check out that wishlist video. So yeah, those are the 5 parks that I would hope to see a Mack Xtreme Spinner at. And honestly, this ride model is just so exciting. When Ride to Happiness was first announced, I looked at that layout and just drooled. Like, that's just incredible. And now that people have ridden it, it's amazing as it looked. So I would love to see many different versions, 5 different versions to be specific, of a Mack Xtreme Spinner. I think it would just be absolutely incredible, and these 5 parks are definitely worthy of a Mack Xtreme Spinner, so I hope it happens at a few of them. I mean, that would be very lucky. I mean, in a perfect world, we get a Mack Xtreme Spinner at all of them, but of course that's never gonna happen. It's a shame. Alright, let's move on to the second section I would like to discuss, which is the Mack multi-launches. I've only ever been on Copperhead Strike at Carowinds and Manta at SeaWorld San Diego, but that's more of a family coaster, and of course Slinky Dog Dash at Disney's Hollywood Studios, but that's even tamer of a family coaster, so really the only full-scale Mack multi-launch I've been on was Copperhead Strike at Carowinds, and that ride absolutely blew me away. It is a lot better than I thought it would be. Even though I rode Time Traveler first, I was still absolutely floored by Copperhead Strike. So I would love to see more Mack multi-launches on that scale, or even more extreme than Copperhead Strike in the United States. But because of my preferences for Time Traveler, I gave 5 parks an Xtreme Spinner. I feel like you can't really have an Xtreme Spinner and a Mack multi-launch, because a Mack multi-launch is just a simplified version of it. So there's only 2 parks that I'd like to discuss for Mack multi-launches. The first is one that we actually already know about. It is Starfall Racers, and really the main point of this is I hope that this ride is elite, because the layout looks super exciting. So I hope it's like on a similar tier to Velocicoaster. My guess is Velocicoaster is going to be better than Starfall Racers, but I hope that Starfall Racers gives Velocicoaster a run for its money in terms of quality, because obviously that ride is one of the best in the world. So if Starfall Racers gets anywhere near that, it would be a huge success, especially for Epic Universe. And I think this layout has potential. Like, those top hats are absolutely incredibly steep. It looks like an insane airtime moment. The dueling 0G roll thing looks like insane, and the rest of the layout looks to be packed with some solid airtime moments. So I hope this ride, I guess both of them, I hope they're elite, and I hope people love them, and I hope it's in the conversation for one of the best coasters in the world. Moving on, the second park that I would like to receive a Mack multi-launch is Worlds of Fun. This park could definitely use a launch coaster. I feel like it would just be a perfect fit here, like something like Copperhead Strike at Carowinds. It would just be so much fun. Like, the combination of the hang time from the inversions and the airtime moments in that ride experience is just incredible. So I feel like a ride like that at Worlds of Fun would just be absolutely spectacular. One park I have to give a shout out to for a Mack multi-launch would be California's Great America, because I feel like that's another park that would be a perfect fit for a Mack multi-launch rather than a Mack Xtreme Spinner. But unfortunately, with the sale of the land to a real estate company, it looks like that park's days are numbered, so the chances of a new roller coaster coming to that park is 0. But I guess since this is a wish list, I wish that this park survives, and I hope that it gets a Mack multi-launch. I feel like that would be a beautiful fit at CGA. So yeah, Worlds of Fun and CGA. I feel like those would be great parks for a Mack multi-launch. One park I totally forgot to mention in relation to a Mack multi-launch is Holiday World. I feel like Holiday World would be a great fit for a Mack multi-launch. Most of these rides that currently exist are over in Europe, and Helix is one of the best from what I have heard. And I feel like if the United States was to get a version of Helix, that would have to go at a park like Holiday World, and I feel like Holiday World would be the best fit. So I totally forgot to put it on the list earlier, which is why I'm cutting in to add it to the list now, because I feel like it would be an excellent fit at that park. It would be totally different from Thunderbird. It would probably have more airtime moments, and the inversions that would be on a Mack multi-launch would be totally different from the relatively graceful inversions of the B&M Wing Coaster, and I feel like it would cut through the terrain and the forest kind of like how Helix does. So that would be an amazing attraction, a Mack multi-launch at Holiday World. But let's move on to the final section that I would like to discuss, which are Mack hypercoasters. I hope that the United States gets some version of a Mack hypercoaster someday. We have so many B&M hypers in this country, so I really hope that another park gets one from Mack Rides. I feel like they could do so many exciting things with the hypercoaster layout, especially if a park in the US gave them this project. I feel like they would absolutely crush it. So the first park that I think should get a Mack hyper is Busch Gardens Tampa. There's already a B&M hyper at SeaWorld Orlando, and I feel like, yeah, Iron Gwazi is technically a hypercoaster, but it's kind of like a specialty hyper. So I feel like a traditional hyper is still a gap in Busch Gardens Tampa's lineup, and I feel like a Mack hyper would be the perfect fit for that. So I really hope it happens one day. It would totally differentiate itself from Mako at SeaWorld Orlando, so it would just be a beautiful fit at that park. It would differentiate SeaWorld's two properties in Florida, and I think it would just absolutely be a smash hit. Plus, it would be totally different from Iron Gwazi because it would not have an Outer Bank turn, and it would not have inversions, which kind of makes Iron Gwazi a weird hypercoaster. Traditional hypers generally don't have inversions. Moving on to the second park that I would love to see a Mack hyper come to is King's Dominion. King's Dominion is kind of in a similar situation to Busch Gardens Tampa because there's already a B&M hyper at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, so a Mack hyper would definitely differentiate it from that. Plus, Cedar Fair actually works with Mack rides, so I'm hoping this could happen one day. It seems pretty unrealistic, especially since that park already has a Giga. I don't know if a park that has a Giga would ever build a hyper, but it would totally be a huge success at that park. It would definitely be a lot more popular with the general public than I-305, that's for sure. And as a Southern California theme park fan, I have to mention that I would love to see a Mack hyper come down here. We desperately need any good hypercoaster, and I would rather see B&M do it because B&M is by far the most reliable. And at Knott's Berry Farm in particular, if you've watched my wishlist video for that park, you know that I think we desperately need B&M capacity. So I would rather see a B&M hyper at Knott's than a Mack hyper, but I would still love to see a Mack hyper in Southern California because I'm biased. So in my perfect world, I would send a B&M hyper to Knott's Berry Farm, and I would take a Mack hyper down to SeaWorld San Diego, I suppose. But I'm not sure if SeaWorld San Diego even is allowed to build a hypercoaster because their tallest coasters max out at 150 feet-ish, in that range. But a Mack hyper would definitely be wonderful in Southern California. So yeah, that is my Mack Rides wish list. Do you agree with anything I've said? Would you send an Xtreme Spinner anywhere else? Or do you have any other ideas for Mack multi-launches or Mack hypercoasters? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you later.